Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. We are learning the chapter Human Reproduction. Today let us discuss menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle starts at the age of puberty in a girl child, and the onset of menstrual cycle or the first menstrual cycle is called a menarche, and it ceases around the age of 450, or it's not rigid. Some people it may be before that, maybe after 45, or sometimes it can go up to 55. Anyways, in the 50s the complete process stops. So that phase is the reproductive phase, and once it is stopping, that stage is called menopause. Okay, so starting is menarche and ending is menopause. Now, what is the duration of the cycle? It repeats every 28 days. So theoretically speaking, 28 to 29 days, but there can be variations from individual to individual. Some people may get it every 30 days or 32 days, or in some cases it may go after 1 month or 2 months only it occurs. So in such cases and all, if it is prolonged, then medical consultation is required. And who has this menstrual cycle? Among the placental mammals, primates only have the menstrual cycle. This process has been divided into 4 stages, and it is under the influence of several hormones. So when we talk about menstrual cycle, we have to consider 2 parts of the female reproductive system. The changes occurring in the ovary, simultaneously changes happening in the uterus. So uterus gets ready to receive the zygote every month. But once it is not receiving any zygote, then all the preparations made inside the uterus to make the zygote get attached is not needed. So all those structures will come out as menstrual bleeding. So in poetic ways, people say it is the funeral of the egg, or sometimes they say it is the tear of the uterus for not having a baby. So all these things are said, but scientifically it has got 4 stages. Sometimes we can consider 3 stages also, because ovulatory phase is a very small phase. So starting with the menstrual phase, which lasts from 1st to 3 days, 4 or 5, sometimes maybe beyond that individual variations can be there. Then comes the follicular phase. It lasts up to middle of the cycle. So if the cycle is a 28-day cycle, then up to 14. If the woman is having a 30-day cycle every month, then it is 15th day. Coming to the next phase, ovulatory phase, which is the mid of the cycle, and then followed by that there comes the luteal phase. If no fertilization, after luteal phase, again it goes back to menstrual phase. But if fertilization happens, this menstrual cycle will not happen. So menstrual cycle is the absence of fertilization. Okay. Now coming to menstrual phase, the bleeding starts that day is considered as the first day of the menstrual cycle, and the first 3 to 5 days the menstrual bleeding will occur. That is the menstrual phase of the first phase. During that time, what is happening? The endometrial lining is coming out through the birth canal. Along with the blood vessels, mucus all will come out. Why is it happening? That is because of the lack of progesterone. Because progesterone is a hormone which helps in maintaining the endometrium. So progesterone drops. As a result, the endometrium sheds and comes out. During that time, these 1 to 3, 4 days, estrogen and progesterone levels are very low in the body of the female. So since the progesterone level is less, it will stimulate the pituitary to secrete a gonadotropin called a follicular stimulating hormone. So 2 gonadotropins are there, LH and FSH. LH is the luteinizing hormone, whereas FSH is the follicular stimulating hormone. So because of the absence of the progesterone, what happens? For FSH will be secreted. Follicular stimulating hormone will act the next 5 to 14 days. During that time, what happens in the ovary? The ovary will start developing the follicles, that is maturation of the follicle happens. As we learned in oogenesis video, primary follicle will become secondary, secondary becomes tertiary, and tertiary will turn into a mature Graafian follicle by 14th day. So 5th day through 14th day, the follicular development happens. During that time in the uterus, what is happening? The endometrial lining is shed, right? So it will proliferate the lost endometrial lining to make it thicker again. So endometrial proliferation happens in the uterus. The follicle development happens inside the ovary during that time. Now once the follicle matures, they start producing a hormone called estrogen. So slowly estrogen level comes up. Once estrogen level comes up, that will reduce the secretion of follicular stimulating hormone and it will increase the secretion of LH, luteinizing hormone. As the luteinizing hormone is secreted during the end of the 14th day, during that time it reaches the highest peak. That is called the LH surge, rapid secretion of high level of LH due to the high secretion of estrogen happens. So that LH surge will lead to the rupture of the Graafian follicle, releasing the ovum or the secondary oocyte out. For that stages and all, you have to visit the previous video on oogenesis. Okay, so the Graafian follicle releases that ovum out. That happens in the mid of the cycle, that is called the ovulatory phase. Now the ovum coming out will be taken by the fimbriae. It will take it to the infundibulum. From there it will reach the ampulla and wait there for another 2 days expecting a sperm. If a sperm comes and fertilizes it, what happens to the secondary oocyte? It will complete meiosis II and becomes the ootid and the second polar body, whereas the ootid will fuse with the sperm head and becomes the zygote. Now we are talking about menstrual cycle where fertilization is not happening. So as a result, the ovum will degenerate. But meanwhile, in the ovary what happens? The Graafian follicle, suppose this is the Graafian follicle, it ruptured giving the oocyte out. Secondary oocyte went out. So what is remaining here? The follicular cells are there, the granulosa layer. That will turn into a structure called a corpus luteum. Okay, so it forms a yellow color structure after the release of the secondary oocyte. The Graafian follicle turns into a structure called a corpus luteum. This corpus luteum is actually acting as an endocrine structure which starts secreting a hormone called a progesterone. Progesterone is the pregnancy hormone which will retain the endometrium intact because it's expecting a child. So 14th day to 16th day the ovulation takes place. Followed by that the corpus luteum will start secreting progesterone. So the next up to 28 days the corpus luteum will secrete progesterone which will keep the endometrial lining intact expecting a baby. Okay. So this luteal phase is otherwise called a secretory phase because during that time endometrium is also becoming glandular. Now after the 28 days, if fertilization does not happen, what happens? The corpus luteum LH level will come down. As a result, corpus luteum will disintegrate. Yellow corpus luteum will become a white color substance called a corpus albicans. During that time, progesterone secretion stops. Once the progesterone comes down, what is the condition? The endometrium cannot stay there anymore. It will also come out as the menstrual bleeding, marking the first day of the cycle. Now progesterone and estrogen are less. As a result, what will start producing? FSH will come from there. It will start producing the follicle. Mature follicle will start producing estrogen. At the middle of the cycle, estrogen level will go high, which will stimulate LH. LH will act on the mature follicle. As a result, the ovulation happens, and after ovulation, corpus luteum will start secreting progesterone which will maintain the endometrium. Towards the end, the progesterone level will be going down because of the degeneration of the corpus luteum which is no more required, and the menstrual bleeding starts. This is the entire cycle of menstrual cycle. Hope you understood the processes very well. Here the ovarian hormones and the pituitary hormones are very important. Ovarian hormones are progesterone and estrogen. Pituitary hormones are LH and FSH. If you like my videos, please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Biology My Passion. Thank you for watching.